Hey, if you've been thinking about going back to school, here's your shot. National University's Year of You Scholarship can get you up to $6,000 a year on your bachelor's or master's degree. And don't worry, their flexible online courses fit your schedule, so you can stay in the game while you study. Plus, you'll get free tutoring, career counseling, and a lot more. Make this your year and apply by February 28th at nu.edu. Terms and conditions apply. Check out the site for details.
Michael K. is on the radio today, and he ain't afraid to say what he's thinking. It's the Michael K. Show on 880 ESPN Radio.
And a good afternoon, everybody. This is indeed the Michael K. Show. We thank you for joining us on this President's Day, February 17th. 2025, and we have a President's Day sale for you today. Free show for 2 hours. Free. That's right. The app is free. The radio is free. We are free. And boy, are we good. We are good. You buy this, you get Don Hahn and Rosenberg free after that. Isn't that amazing? No mattresses, nothing like that. This is a big President's Day event. All right, we'll talk about last weekend. Oh, this previous one. NBA All-Star Weekend. Saturday, you got the skills competition, and two guys try to find an edge. Wembanyama and Paul. We find out later it was Wembanyama. Didn't actually take shots. They fired the ball toward the basket. They got the best time. They were disqualified. I had no problem with any of it. I mean, you want to win, right? So you're trying to find little nooks and crannies between the rules. You know what I had a problem with? That the NBA would not allow Allie LaForce, right? To interview Chris Paul. They said, no, this is a rights holder. I know it's only a rights holder this year, and it's an exhibition. They wouldn't let them talk to him. That was unbelievable to me. If we're in the entertainment business, let's find out what they thought about being disqualified. Then we had the three-point shooting contest. Tyler Hero wins. Damian Lillard does not get a three-peat. Didn't even make it out of the first round. Jalen Brunson started well, finished poorly. He didn't get out of the first round. And then we have the dunk contest. I'll tell you, the NBA is full of guys that just don't have sack. Why won't the stars actually play in the dunk contest? So once again, for a three-peat, McClung wins. He is amazing. I'm not taking anything away from him. You know how many minutes he's played in the NBA this year? 5 minutes. 5 minutes for the Magic. 5. That's how many he's played in. The rest have been in the G League. That's the best that the NBA could get. Afterward, I guess, John Morant said he would consider doing it next year. Giannis Antetokounmpo said he would consider doing it next year. It's kind of a sunk event. The best event of All-Star Saturday is the three-point event, because I think people do want to partake in that. I don't know why Steph Curry wasn't in, but you know, they find enough people to actually make it a stirring competition. They make that the second of the three. Really, it should be the final one because it's the most important. But they rest on history, and they think you're still going to have Larry Nance and Vince Carter and Michael Jordan and the like all dunking. Now it's people that you don't know. Castle against McClung in the final. Castle did a good job. McClung, every dunk he made was a 50. He's amazing. I don't know how he does it. He's not a guy who's tall, but he can jump. He can hang in the air. He has creative dunks, and he wins legitimately. But wouldn't it be more fun if it was people that you actually knew? Why don't you get playground legends to do it that aren't even affiliated with the NBA? Why not do that? And then we come to the All-Star game last night, or games. And the NBA is trying to infuse some kind of drama in this. Some. Doesn't work. And I want you to listen to Draymond Green, who obviously wants a career away from the game behind a microphone. He's probably going to get it. And he was asked about the NBA, not just the All-Star game, and he said that today's NBA is boring.
It's not smart basketball no more. I saw a clip not too long ago where Kobe said, like, yo, it's accidental basketball. He couldn't have been more right. It was so refreshing to play against Bron because every possession is like a chess match. But you don't just get that on a regular basis. Who can run faster? Who can hit more threes? It's no substance. And so I think it's very boring.
And then he was asked, well, why is the NBA boring?
I think the physicality has been taken out of the game, and to me that's boring. The old style of refereeing will come back, where if you've earned stripes, you get a better whistle. That's just the way it used to go. And now it's not that way. And then you question why is the game boring? Michael Jordan used to get calls, but not the rookie coming into the league. He didn't get no call. The rookie coming into the league got a call, or thought he was going to get a call. He turned to the referee and said, you didn't call that. And he said, who are you? Why would I call that for you? What have you done? So I think the human element has been taken out of it. I don't think that makes for a great product.
And finally, here's the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, reacting to Draymond's comments.
Everyone's aware he wants to play a very, very physical game. It's the sentiment of the league, not just me. We have a competition committee, and the Players Association is part of that, while we appreciate the energy he brings to the game, we're also as focused on athleticism and skill and don't want it to become overly physical. And I felt he was reacting really more to sort of a little pushback on his particular style. He's entitled to his opinion, but he's a provocateur. He has his own podcast, and he's clever and knows how to get attention.
He really didn't answer the question. So let's look first at the All-Star game. I've got some ways you could fix it. Eliminate the three-point shot in the All-Star game. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns pulling up from the logo and shooting a three, that's not basketball. It's not a basketball game. Kobe would probably clothesline him if he did that. Same thing with Steph Curry, whose game is that, pulling up from really, really deep. Eliminate the three-pointer and eliminate the dunks. And then let them play basketball. Now, as for the players complaining, a lot of them didn't like the format. The reason that Adam Silver and company are trying to change the format, make it watchable, is because of you guys. You guys don't care. So don't hang the messenger or the guy who's trying to fix what you broke. NBA players don't care. They don't care about the All-Star game. There's no point of pride anymore. You're not defending a conference like you used to before. Now it's all a melange of players. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So we're supposed to really be engaged in this. And if you want to fix the NBA game, it has nothing to do with physicality. It has to do with the beauty of basketball. Every single game, it seems like, both teams combine for 100 three-point shots. It's killing the game. It's killing the game. And the NBA's not hurting because of it. They just signed a multi-billion-dollar television contract for the next 10 years with two new partners, NBC and Amazon, to go along with ESPN. So they're not hurting at all. But the ratings have been down. You got to eliminate part of the three. You just have to. Because that's all the coaches are teaching. They don't want mid-range twos anymore. They don't think it's smart, and they're right. Because if you could get three, wouldn't you have three than two? Just mathematics would tell you that. Now, if I really wanted to fix the game, I would totally eliminate the three. Totally eliminate it. But they're not going to do that. So at least give me this. Eliminate the three from the corner. Eliminate the three from the corner. And back up the three just a little bit more. And load management, that's on the players. And, by the way, it's also on the organizations. They're the ones who started it. San Antonio Spurs are the ones who really started it. There's a benchmark now for the most games that you have to play in order to be qualified for postseason honors, and that's 65. And most of the great players aren't going to reach it. You have the Knicks and you have everybody else. Talk about load management. LeBron James yesterday said he wasn't playing. And he waited till the last day. His ankle and foot has been bothering him. I bet you he's playing the next game the Lakers play. Why didn't he tell the NBA sooner so somebody who was on the bubble and didn't make the All-Star team would have made the All-Star team? The whole thing is out of whack. It's not a fun game to watch anymore. What is the strategy? Kick it out for three, kick it out for three, kick it out for three, or drive it to the lane and get an easy two. As for the physicality of it, what does Draymond Green want? He wants fights again? He wants Derek Harper fighting in front of Knicks fans in Madison Square Garden? Is that what you want? Xavier McDaniel? Yeah, part of it was fun. Somebody get killed now. The way society is, somebody would get killed. We have this discussion every single year. The weekend or the day after the All-Star weekend. Nothing gets fixed. The NBA tries. I give them credit. They don't sit back and just let it happen because they are doing well financially. They're trying to make it viable. Maybe they could do something like the Four Nations tournament that the NHL is in the middle of and looks like it's scintillating. Maybe. But I don't know if you could do it. And would the NBA players really care? The NBA players are wired different than the NHL players. They just are. This Four Nations tournament, you guys know, you listen to me for a long time. I'm not the biggest hockey fan. I enjoy it in bits and pieces, and I respect it. And I've learned more because of working with Don for 22 years, and I know he adores the sport, and I respect that. But the bottom line is that was scintillating. 3 fights in 9 seconds, USA against Canada. And then they played intense hockey. And what's it for? It's for pride. But the NBA players don't seem to have that when it comes to the All-Star game. They don't. There's no pride involved that they won't even participate in a dunk contest. They don't want to get hurt, so they don't go all out in the game on Sunday. It's a joke. And then Sunday's presentation, somebody on Twitter had it great. It was a Kevin Hart show interspersed with about 10 minutes of basketball. I like Kevin Hart, but it can't all be about him. That's not why people were tuning in to watch Kevin Hart. And then they were saying goodbye to the TNT crew. A long, drawn-out halftime ceremony saying goodbye to Kenny and Shaq and Charles and Ernie. Oh, by the way, they're not going anywhere. They're going to be on ESPN next year doing the very same show. So what was the goodbye for? That was ill-advised by the NBA. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if it's savable. They seem like they're locked into the three. Teams have drafted players just for the three. I think the three is the culprit of everything. Not the All-Star game. Maybe a little bit. Because all they want to do is sit there and fire the longer three, the better of the three. They're not playing basketball. And then there doesn't seem to be anybody like Kobe that would actually kill somebody to win in the All-Star game. And there doesn't seem to be anybody like Jordan that would kill somebody. They wouldn't put up with the shenanigans. The constant alley-oops, the pulling up from 50. Doesn't work. It's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not basketball. It's a skills competition. The All-Star game's turned into a three-point shooting contest. And the NBA's turned into a three-point shooting contest. Why don't we just stop? Eliminate the corner three, make people play basketball, move the ball, things like that. But I don't know if it's going to happen. Because the NBA's in no dire strait. They just got huge money for their television contract. So they could sit back for 10 years and collect the money. The only way they would move is if the ratings are so bad next year and NBC and ESPN and ABC and Amazon go, you got to fix this. We just paid you billions of dollars. You got to fix it. A little disappointing. I'm telling you, a little bit disappointing. So a lot of things happened over the weekend. A lot of things. And today, we just get news that Frankie Montas, one of the big signings for the Mets during the offseason, has not thrown a ball and is going to be out for several weeks. A significant stretch is what Mike Puma of the New York Post reported. A significant stretch. That's not good. You guys have all heard me say the Met offense, obviously with Soto, is going to be really potent, very good. They re-signed Alonso. It's a good lineup. When you have a guy like Starling Marte, who's a really good player, he's going to be coming off the bench. You have no worries about your offense. I've said over and over and over again, they're trying to go with a $340 million payroll on the cheap with pitching. Frankie Montas has always been a guy with a tremendous amount of talent. He's seductive with the talent that he shows you. He's just never healthy. Ask the Yankees. They made a trade for him. They never saw him on the mound, ever. So if a guy's hurt for most of his career and then you sign him again, you think he's going to stay healthy? That's a big blow. You got a lot of bets down on Clay Holmes. You're going to turn him into a starter. We'll see. Kodai Senga pitched 5 innings last year and then did get back for the playoffs. Didn't play well in the playoffs, but he did get back. Shoulder, calf, 5 innings. He's got to be their guy. Got to be their guy. Sean Manaea, outstanding last year, signed a big contract. That's the one guy that David Stearns invested some money in, but just 3 years, $75 million. We'll see how that works out. They are not really deep enough in the starting pitching. They're not deep enough. And then we come to the Yankees. It's like you can't make it up. You can't make it up. We find out that most of last year, Giancarlo Stanton was dealing with what essentially is tennis elbow in both elbows. And now he said the pain is quite high when he spoke to the media today. Quite high. And he has not swung a bat in 3 or 4 weeks. Now, we're going to get into this a little bit later on in the show. But I want you all to think about this because we'll do it in the 2 o'clock hour. We know what a beast Giancarlo Stanton has been for the New York Yankees in the postseason. But if you take a look at what he's done in the regular season since the Yankees acquired him, his first year with the Yankees was 2018. And he played 158 games. Has not come close to that since. But he's been great in the postseason. So this runs right along the lines of Yankee fans. Well, nothing you do in the regular season matters. It's what you do in the postseason. So those people would say that Stanton, obviously, is somebody that's worth it. And then there'd be other people that say, well, the last 2 years in 2023, he had a minus 0.8 WAR. Minus. So he was below a replacement player. Last year, he had a 0.7 WAR. In his best years with the Marlins, he had WARs of 7.9 and 6.5. He hasn't come close to that as a Yankee. So is he worth it? To clog up the DH spot, he can't run. He can't play in the outfield. He doesn't stay healthy. So I guess no one should be shocked. Usually it's a soft tissue injury, a muscle or something like that. This time it's his elbows. So is he worth the trouble because he hits you home runs in the postseason? I'm sure a lot of people out there would say, oh, yes, he's worth it. But the way he plays sometimes and can't stay on the field, you might not get into the postseason because one of your most important players is hurt all the time. Played 114 games last year, 101 the year before that. That's not good, especially with the loss of Soto. He's really, really important. If he misses a significant amount of time, who's your DH? Ben Rice? Trent Grisham? Who's your DH? That's a big blow for the Yankees if this guy doesn't play in like 135 games. And he has not played in 135 games since 2021 when he played 139. Then in 22, he had 110. In 23, 101. Last year, 114. It's a big blow. But we shouldn't be surprised because some way, somehow, he's going to get hurt all the time. Through no fault of his own. If you stand next to a guy, he's built like a Greek god. His body is betraying him. It's not because he's lazy. It's not because he comes into camp in bad shape. But the body can't stay right. The last big year he had for the Yankees was their first year. In 2018, again, he had a 4.4 WAR and 158 games played. There's no way on God's green earth that he will ever play in 158 games again in a single season. Ever. So is he worth it? Is he worth it to clog up the DH spot? To clog up the money on the payroll? Is that a deal that if you ask Brian Cashman honestly and you injected him with sodium pentothal and you said, Brian, would you do that deal again? There's no way he would do that deal again. There's no way. He would say yes. Look at what he's done in the postseason. But he's made it too much of a challenge in the regular season. And this year it's going to be more important, as I mentioned, without Soto. Who is protecting Judge? Who in that lineup is protecting Judge where makes you think about pitching around Judge? Now, there's nobody on the roster that approximates even what Judge can do. Last year, Judge had a great year, 58 home runs, and it was Austin Wells hitting behind him. Let's see if we do it. Let's see if they do it. Let's see who's going to back up Judge this year. But that's a sobering bit of news that Stanton Hasn't swung a bat in 3 or 4 weeks. And there's a possibility he might not be ready for opening day. Let's go to the phones. 1-800-919-3776. Let's go to Raul in Harrisburg to start off. Raul.
How you doing, Michael, today? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Very good. Very good. I'm on my way to Maryland. All right, Michael, the guy can't stay in the field, right? So what if the Yankees just pinch hit this guy and don't put him in the field? I think because the problem is that he doesn't get injured on the field like you say. But I think if they pinch hit him and then put somebody else behind Judge to duplicate what Soto did last year, that would be a big plus for the Yankees. You know what I mean?
Wait, you're talking about pinch hitting Stanton?
No, not pinch hitting. I'm sorry. I was saying DH him more.
Well, that's all he does.
His body's giving up. You know what I mean?
But he doesn't play anymore. He never doesn't play in the field. Last year, they didn't come close to playing in the field. The bottom line is he is a DH, and he still can't stay in the field. He doesn't run the bases, and he still gets hurt with lower body injuries, soft tissue injuries. They desperately need this guy to stay healthy, but like I said about Montas, if you're hurt all the time and you get older, guess what? You're going to get hurt again. That's just the way the body works. That's just the way the body works. Let's go to Hector in Queens. Hector.
Hey, Mike. How you doing? Listen, so I understand that the guy's hurt. I'm looking. There's only 3 years left on the contract at like 15 and 19 million. I'm not completely correct with the numbers. So the thing is, I think we could get by in the American League and get into the playoffs. The most important thing is that he's healthy for the playoffs. But even then, we don't really know. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be with this guy. Also, it's so key on the young players to really take the next step for this offense to work well. If not, then the Yankees really have no shot if the kids don't work, you know?
Well, I think the most important guy on the team, and I said this last week, and I'll continue to say it, is Jason Dominguez, who hit a home run today off of Carlos Rodon, glorified batting practice. But Rodon also struck him out, but he hit a monstrous home run to left field. Dominguez is the most pivotal player for me on the New York Yankees. Because if he doesn't do it, your left fielder or your outfield is going to have Trent Grisham in it all the time. That's not good enough. They don't have a backup outfielder other than Trent Grisham. He's not an everyday player, in my opinion. So everything emanates off of Dominguez. That's all there is to it. Everything. So he's got to produce. He's got to live up to all of the accolades that we've heard about him, all of the potential that he's shown. That's the key. That is obviously the key. Everybody else, they're replaceable. Even Stanton. You'll find a way to replace him. You'll find a way to replace him. There's no replacement for Dominguez. And really, there's nobody that approximates what Stanton does either. But when you go into a season, and if you think that Stanton's going to play over 100 games, that's on you. There's no way the Yankees built this team without the thought that there's a possibility that Stanton's not going to play over 105 games. And they've got to prepare for the 57 games that they're not going to have him. Is it going to be at the beginning of the season this year? Because it worries me about the elbows. Because what if he misses the first month of the season? Then he plays in May, plays in June. Then he has the inevitable soft tissue injury. Then what happens? Then he's not going to play 90 games. It's only going to get worse as he gets older. It is. The body doesn't get better as you get older. The body gets worse. Believe me, I know. Hey, Game Time is brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time. The local hockey and basketball teams are still on break, but the Four Nations continues. Canada-Finland underway right now, and tonight at 8, the USA faces Sweden. And tonight on 880, we'll have men's college basketball coverage. Duke against Virginia. That's at 7:30. Tullamore Dew, the original triple distilled, triple blended, and triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the new Tullamore Dew Honey during today's action. Glasses up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Grainger knows space at your facility is limited. As a maintenance specialist, you only have so many spots for backup products in your inventory roster, which means space on your bench comes at a premium. Well, when it comes to breadth and depth, Grainger's got you covered. They've got over 1 million industrial-grade products. Plus, fast delivery helps reduce the inventory you need to keep on hand, freeing up space and capital while giving your operation a winning edge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by a local branch. As the number and severity of third-party breaches continue to rise, companies are increasingly vigilant, not just about how they handle their own data, but how their vendors do as well. For security and compliance leaders, this means more security reviews are coming across your desk every day, and valuable time is being wasted on manual security reviews. With Vanta Questionnaire Automation, security and compliance teams can complete security reviews up to 5 times faster, giving you time back to focus on running your security and compliance programs. Over 8,000 global companies like ZoomInfo, Smart Recruiters, and Noibu use Vanta to save time on security reviews. Visit vanta.com/podcast to learn more about questionnaire automation. That's VANTA.com/podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Baseball's in kind of full swing right now. Yankees with their first full squad workout. Yesterday, the Mets had their first full squad workout. A lot of stories coming out of the game, and we love to check in with our good buddy who knows all things baseball, and that is Buster Olney. Buster, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Michael. Great to talk with you.
Giancarlo Stanton, tennis elbow in both elbows, saying today that those little tears in the tendons in the elbow and surgery wouldn't fix it unless it gets blown out, which he doesn't expect. It's almost like the Yankees have to expect this, Buster, and I don't think that you could just look at it lightly because, you need somebody behind Judge now that Soto's in Queens, so limiting Stanton to 100 games is going to be a little bit of a blow.
Yeah, I mean, given the injury history, given the fact that he's 35 years old, given the fact that this is where we are at the start of spring training with an injury that, tends to be chronic, 100 games would probably be a dream scenario, and that's obviously just speculation. But what I thought of, Michael, when I saw this news was you were around the Yankees, as they went through the postseason last year. Remember how before every game, Stanton would be out at about 4 or 5 hours before the game, taking batting practice on the fields and going through a regimen early in the afternoon and trying to find his swing and getting comfortable. And it obviously worked for him. And you kind of wonder if this is now a case where, this is a player who really benefits from doing extra work, and that may not be possible given the nature of this injury. I think it's a big concern, early in camp, to have Giancarlo Stanton saying he hasn't taken a swing in about 4 weeks. That's pretty scary.
It is unbelievable. And, I'm going to put this out to our audience in the 2 o'clock hour. Let me put it out to you. I broke down what he's done with the Yankees. So they got him after the 2017 season. He played 158 games in 2018. And after that, he had 139 in 2021, but he's been hurt all the time. He he rises to the occasion in the playoffs. But I ask you, Buster, is it worth it to have him? Now that he's not going anywhere because of the contract, but if the Yankees could do a do-over, would they bring him in? Oh, and is the fact that he performs well in the postseason, does it obscure over the fact that he can't stay on the field?
Well, I'll just answer, the first part of that, first and say that would they do the deal knowing what we've seen? No, they wouldn't. And I think that would be the honest answer because he's had so many injuries and this has become part of the deal. Now, it is great, that he has stepped up in big moments. He clearly is not afraid. He hits big home runs, but this is an issue to the point where you kind of wonder if the Yankees will look at guys who are still unsigned and say, we don't know when we're going to have Stanton back. So why not go and look at one of the veterans that's still out in the free agent market and consider other names because we don't know how much time he's going to be on the field with us. The Yankees, as you know, I always feel like that they do a great job in handling injuries, in that they keep the focus on later in the year. If, sitting Stanton down at the beginning of the year means they have a better chance to have him September and October, they'll do that. But you're still going to need, as you said, another bat in the lineup to help protect Aaron Judge, who's going to look pretty naked this year without Juan Soto batting in front of him.
All right, let's go over to the Mets, and we find out today Frankie Montas is not going to pitch for a while. He's going to be shut down for a significant stretch. And when I look at the Mets, I love what they did, obviously, bringing in Soto, and their offense looks very, very impressive. But the starting pitching is a huge question mark, and Montas is a guy, when people get hurt all the time, Buster, you know what? They're going to get hurt again. And Montas has not been able to stay on the mound. That's a big blow if he can't pitch.
Yeah, and it was interesting after they signed him, talking with evaluators of other teams who had a ton of respect for David Stearns' history, putting together teams, Jeremy Hefner, their pitching coach, what they accomplished last year. But there was surprise when they gave Montas that kind of money, because their feeling was, man, to your point, he's always hurt. He's always down. There's always a physical problem. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. And that, without a doubt, is the most fragile part of this team. There's a lot about the Mets that you absolutely love. They bolstered their bullpen, having Soto, hitting behind Lindor, bringing back Pete Alonso, Vientos in his development. But I think it's going to come down again this year as it did last year to starting pitching. One of the great things that we saw in baseball last year was how the Mets put together a much better rotation than anybody expected, and they wound up playing in the National League Championship Series. That's going to be the challenge again this year. It's pretty clear because they're pretty thin in the rotation.
You mentioned free agents that are out there. The last big free agent actually signed now with Alex Bregman going to the Boston Red Sox. How does that impact the Red Sox in terms of competing with the Yankees and let's say the Blue Jays and the Rays and the Orioles? It's a pretty good division. How does that impact the Red Sox?
It's huge. It's very interesting talking with folks with other teams about that deal, and they said, for a franchise like the Red Sox, big money, big market team, it was a great signing, this late in the winter. He's going to make them better. I was texting with Ron Washington, the Angels manager, of course, a great infield instructor, and I asked him, I said, look, if he winds up moving from third base to second base, how difficult will that be for him? How will he do? And he talked about, Bregman's history playing in the middle infield when he was in college, and his particular skills, and he said he's going to be great. And when you really look at what the Red Sox are putting together, they added a number 1 and number 2 starter, Garrett Crochet, Walker Buehler, early in the offseason. Now you have Bregman. You have this great wave of prospects that are coming up, guys like Christian Campbell who could manifest at some point. Anthony, the right fielder, who's going to be a factor, I think, early in the year. This is, to me, the team that's going to challenge the Yankees for the American League East. That is the best overall team, especially given the fact the Orioles haven't added starting pitching.
All right, so Alex Cora, when they signed Bregman, said, well, we're not going to eliminate the fact that he could play third. He won a Gold Glove at third base. He said that hasn't been decided. But then Rafael Devers spoke today. And he told the assembled media, there's no way I'm ever DHing and there's no way I'm playing first base. So that pretty much answers the question. It's amazing when players say there's no way they're going to do something and they're under contract. But I guess Devers, with that big contract, he also feels that he's got leverage and he's not moving.
And in the end, they're going to have to listen to him. He's not going to, they're not going to do it unless he's willing. I would say this. I do wonder how this might develop over the course of spring. I had one evaluator with another team say, you have the best third baseman in the American League, and he's not going to play third base, right? And there's an anticipation that at some point, Alex Cora, who does have a great relationship with Devers, Alex is like a big brother to him. As this spring plays out, if Christian Campbell is ready to take over at second base, and that's the feeling of a lot of folks with other teams, and their best team is with Bregman at third and with Devers at DH and Campbell playing second base, some people who know the relationship between these two wonder if Alex can convince Devers, hey, this is the right thing right now for this team. And let's face it, Devers already been paid. Like, he has nothing at risk. But in the end, they're going to have to listen to him. At the time that the Yankees got Alex Rodriguez, the wide consensus in baseball was He was a better shortstop than Derek Jeter, but guess who moved?
and you know what's amazing, too? You're saying that, Bregman is arguably the best third baseman in the American League. He just won the Gold Glove. And Devers is terrible at third base. So, I mean, it just makes so much sense to DH him. But I guess the DH spot is kind of clogged up, too.
Well, they would have to move Yoshida in a deal and dump his contract. But I think they're the biggest thing is to get their defense in order. Alex Cora is a big pitching and defense type guy. They worked on that this winter. I don't think that it would be a problem. If Devers gave him a green light to move to DH in particular, because let's face it, he probably would struggle as much defensively at first as he has at third base, then they would do that in a heartbeat, and they would figure out the thing with Ishida afterward.
All right, so we're coming up on, and we're talking with Buster Olney here on the Michael K. Show. We're coming up on the Vlad Jr. self-imposed deadline to get a contract done. He's not going to negotiate during spring training nor during the season. Is there a chance that the Blue Jays get this done before the deadline?
I guess there's a chance because Vladdy's made it clear, like, he would like to stay. He was born in Canada. This is where, he grew up in Canada. He's much more open to going there than a lot of major league players, but they seem to be miles and miles and miles apart in the conversations they've had in the past. As you know, it's been more than a decade since, and we talked about this a lot during the Pete Alonso negotiations, been more than a decade since a first baseman got more than $200 million. I don't know exactly what the Blue Jays have offered him, but I think its points during this have been more than $100 million apart. There's talk in baseball that Vladdy would like a deal somewhere in the range of $450 million. You're the Blue Jays right now. You have a terrible farm system. You have an older team. You need Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to be what you had hoped that Ohtani would be when you pursued him, and Soto would be the anchor of the franchise. They might have to, hold their noses and give him a number that they're not comfortable with, or they're going to see him walk out the door, and he's going to be the most coveted player at this year's trade market. You and I have talked in the past about how internally this is a player that the Mets are really interested in down the road. Imagine having a young Soto and a young Vladdy, who's only going to be 27 when he hits free agency, batting back-to-back in your lineup for years to come.
Do you think that the eventual Guerrero contract is going to move him into the Soto neighborhood, or is there going to be another player that goes there?
Yeah, he's not going to get close to where Soto is. I mean, Soto's by himself, as you know, by $300 million. The actual present-day value on Ohtani's contract is $461. Soto got $765 in addition to all the perks. By the way, the Mets are spending more money on seats for Soto's family this year than they are for their manager, Carlos Mendoza. Okay, that tells you what kind of a perk package he's got. But I think the player who could move into the Soto neighborhood, the next guy who's got a shot, is Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles. He's going to be a free agent at age 27, phenomenal athlete. He can run, he can hit for power. And the biggest thing is to hit free agency at an age earlier than 29 or 30. That's how Soto got to where he is. That's where Yamamoto got such a big deal from the Dodgers, $325 million. Gunnar Henderson's going to be a free agent in 2029, and it'll be after the labor negotiation is settled. So that'll give him a chance, I think, maybe to get that huge $700 million plus deal.
All right, everybody at ESPN's putting together a list of the best at the positions, and the first one today is the top 10 catchers, and you have Contreras, William Contreras, number 1, and Yankee fans would like to know, you have Austin Wells, number 8. So why Contreras, number 1, and how did Wells get to number 8 so quickly in just the second year?
Yeah, I think Contreras, because he was so strong offensively last year, and there was something that he was a good hitter with the Atlanta Braves. They traded in the Brewers, partly out of concern about whether or not he was developed as a catcher. But he really has made great progress in that end, so he's a serviceable defensive player in addition to the great offense. I think there's a lot of surprise with people that Adley Rutschman, had such a terrible second half last year. What I heard from evaluators, they thought he put on weight, that he wasn't moving as well. He batted 189 in the second half, chasing a lot of pitches up and out of the zone. And, the feeling is that, he'll bounce back. He'll probably be back to being the number 1 catcher. Austin Wells is someone who I heard a lot of positive stuff from folks with other teams. As you know, to have a young catcher who's so high, I think he finished 3rd last year in framing metrics among all catchers in baseball to have someone with that kind of ability defensively early in his career, as well as having the offensive prowess, because there was talk when he started out as a professional that they might move him from catcher to another spot. It bodes well. When we talk about who might bat behind Judge in the lineup, we saw the Yankees do that late last year. Maybe that's the guy they settle on this year with Stanton being out.
So the other day, I just wanted to get your take on this before we let you go. MLB Network came out and said that Ohtani is the best player in baseball and Judge is number 2. Now, if Ohtani pitches, I would agree with that. But if he doesn't pitch, and he hasn't pitched in 18 months, I think Judge is better, especially if you look at all the statistics that count. What's your take?
I agree with you. And look, Judge, as great as Ohtani was last year, the best player in baseball last year was Aaron Judge, with everything that he brought to the table. And I think I've told you these numbers before. I texted them to you. When you think about what he did last year, an adjusted OPS plus of 223, that's higher than in any individual season for Lou Gehrig or Mickey Mantle or any other Yankee great other than Babe Ruth. That's how great Aaron Judge was last year. I understand, he was not good in the postseason. He dropped the fly ball when the Dodgers all made fun of him. But the bottom line was that last year Aaron Judge was the best player in baseball.
We're on the same wavelength. I like that, Buster. I thank you for coming on as always.
All right, Michael. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Buster Olney. Get a little taste of what's going on in spring training and some of the stories out there. Also comes out that the Angels are moving Mike Trout from center to right field to try to take some stress off of his body and keep him healthy, which he has been unable to do. All right, let's turn you into the co-host now, 1-800-919-3776. Having a good time here on President's Day, and hope you are going to be with us throughout the day, because at 3 o'clock we turn it over to Don Hahn and Rosenberg. Hey, maybe the off season, but every season is Bigelow Tea season. You know I'm picky about what I drink, especially on the days we have a show. One of the first things I do each day is reach for a mug full of Bigelow Tea. I love the different flavor options, and it's perfect for someone who makes his living behind a microphone. You want to know what keeps me going? Look no further than my cup of Bigelow Tea next to me in the studio. So grab a mug full of your favorite Bigelow Tea and tea proudly. Bigelow Tea, the official hot tea of the New York Yankees.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Yeah, happy to be here. Can I get some rotors?
Would you like brake pads with that?
How much are the brake pads?
Free with the rotors.
Free. Really?
Really, free.
Okay, I also need some oil.
Would you like an oil filter with that?
Yeah, how much is that?
Free with 5 quarts of oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's part of the A to Z savings event.
You might as well call it A to free.
At AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
When you're a small business owner, having your bookkeeping and taxes in order comes at a cost. I'm not just talking about your money. I'm talking about your time, hours and hours that you could have spent actually growing your business. But guess what? It doesn't have to be that way thanks to Found. Found is a banking platform that doesn't just consolidate your financial ecosystem. Found automates manual activities like expense tracking and finding tax write-offs. Found makes staying on top of invoices and payments so easy. Oh, and by the way, other small businesses are loving Found too. This Found user said, quote, "Found is going to save me so much headache. It makes everything so much easier. Expenses, income, profits, taxes, invoices even," unquote. And Found has 30,000 5-star reviews just like this. Open a Found account for free at found.com/sports. That's found.com/sports. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Piermont Bank, member FDIC. Don't put this one off. Join thousands of small business owners who have streamlined their finances with Found.
If you wear glasses, you know how hard it is to find the perfect pair. But step into a Warby Parker store, and you'll see it doesn't have to be. Not only will you find a great selection of frames, you'll also meet helpful advisors and friendly optometrists. Yep, many Warby Parker locations also offer eye exams. So the next time you need glasses, sunglasses, contact lenses, or a new prescription, you know where to look. To find a Warby Parker store near you or to book an eye exam, head over to warbyparker.com/retail.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Michael K. Show right here on 880 ESPN every Monday through Friday from 1 to 3. We'll try to be with you every single day to advance the show, advance the project, advance the entertainment. Now we advance to phone calls. You're my co-host, 1-800-919-3776. Let's go to Carlisle in Lindenhurst. And I don't have control of my screen, so you guys will have to pick it up. Carlisle.
Yes. Hello, Michael. Good afternoon. The more I think about the third base situation on the Yankees, and to protect Aaron Judge, I was thinking maybe if the Yankees could contact Arizona Diamondbacks for Kendall Marte, a second baseman. The guy hustles. The guy can run, steal bases. The guy is a contact hitter. And another guy.
Why would the Diamondbacks trade him?
Well, I said that to you about Nolan Arenado last year, and you said the same thing. So now it's kind of difficult. He's got 3 years, $64 million left. But
you kind of like muddling things up. The Diamondbacks are trying to compete and make the playoffs. And we thank you for the phone call.
But no, wait, Mike. I got the piece to make the trade. Dominguez.
Why? Why would you trade a guy that's so important to your team for a second baseman?
Because it worked for the Yankees for Michael King. Remember when they took that chance?
Yeah, where are they? Okay, they got Soto for 1 year.
Right.
So you want to trade Dominguez, so that puts he'll be at set. You want him for Marte, put Marte at second, and then move Jazz Chisholm to third. And who's your left fielder?
Exactly.
Who's your left fielder?
Well, there's plenty of left fielders out there.
No, there's not. There's plenty. Bye, Carlisle. Stop. Goodbye. Thank you for the phone call. I just said that Dominguez is the most important player on the team. You're going to trade a guy who's making a minimum amount of salary for somebody who's with a higher salary. Why would the Diamondbacks do that? They have outfielders. Marte's an important part of their team, and they're trying to win a World Series. And you're comparing to Arenado. The Cardinals are breaking down. They don't care about winning in 2025. They're aiming for 2026. They want to get rid of Arenado. And I've said, if I'm the Yankees, I would trade for Arenado. But they don't seem like they have any interest at all. But I'm sure as heck not trading Jason Dominguez. You're comparing him to Michael King. And getting Soto was a generational player to get him and to try to keep him for a long time. It didn't work out. They did get to the World Series because of that trade. And Michael King is 29 years old. You're going to trade a 22-year-old Jason Dominguez. Let's go to Sanjay in Connecticut. Sanjay.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for taking my call. I'm a big fan, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk NBA. I've been a suffering Knicks fan for, I would say, the mid-'70s, and I try to get out to 6 or 7 games a year. I wanted to make 2 quick points and get your thoughts. One, totally agree on the three-point shot. As a basketball purist and having watched some of the greats and the low-post games, it's completely gone. While I would love to see the three-point eliminated completely, I don't see the NBA doing it. So one thought I had was, because a three-point is not worth 50%, it's not more difficult to make a three-point shot because it's 50% more in value. Mm-hmm. What if we drop the value of the three-point shot to 2.5 points? Because there's not enough room on the court to bring the lines in. So that was one thought. Would love to get your thought on that.
That becomes quite cumbersome on the scoreboard. 2.5 points. So what the Knicks would be leading 7.5 to 6 in a game.
That would be the tricky part in it. But the value, if you look, the reason everyone keeps shooting the threes, it's worth 50% more than 2, but the shot isn't 50% harder.
That's why I say eliminate the three-point corner shot, which is the easiest shot.
Yeah, I would love to see that gone completely, frankly, and bring the game back to the purest way it should be played. And the second quick point I wanted to make is related to, if you look at all the points per game average, how about we eliminate point per game and go to total points scored through the course of the season and reward those players who are coming in every night playing. And when you get contracts and when you're rewarded, it should be based on how many points you score in a season versus the points per game, which incentivizes the players to just sit and not play for 5-10 minutes, even if they could, to help their teams, because they don't want to lower their averages, and they sit there in their fancy suits on the sidelines.
Love it. I don't like it. I love it. I think it's great. And, if you want to win a scoring title, then you're going to have to play a lot of games. So you can't play 65 games, miss 17 games, and win the scoring title when the guy that you're competing against played 82 games and he has way more points and played in 17 more games, but you get to win the scoring title on the average. So, yeah, I love it. Sanjay, I love it. I don't like the 2.5-point thing. I would like to eliminate the 3-point play. It's not going to happen. So what you have to do is tweak it a little bit. Either move it back a little bit more, and if you eliminate the corner three, which is the shortest 3-point shot there is on the court, I think that you would then make the game more of a basketball game where they would have to work to get shots inside. Firing up 100 3-point shots between the two teams each game, I don't think is aesthetically pleasing. It's not the basketball the way we love it. It's just not. There's no moving. There's no cutting. There's anything like you see guys driving to the hoop, having an open shot and kicking it back out for a 3-point shot. And I'm not going to knock them for doing that because, again, the coaches and the players don't have an investment whatsoever in making the game aesthetically pleasing. That's not their job. Their job is to win. So you're going to take the shot that's 50% more valuable than the other shot. You just are. You're going to take as many of those as you possibly can. And therein lies the rub. That's the problem with the All-Star game, and that's the problem with the NBA right now. It becomes a 3-point shooting contest. 100 3-point shots in one game. It's too much. It's too much. It just is. There's nobody in the paint anymore. Everybody's on the perimeter looking for their 3-point shot.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
You know what? Check yourself.
Hear more from Michael K. weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN.
Suck it up and like it.
The ESPN New York app and your smart speakers.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Are you ready to build your company's dream team? Just like in sports, finding skilled players is essential for success. With Robert Half's winning combination of specialized recruiting professionals and award-winning AI, we'll help you find the MVPs and key role players who will have you hanging banners in the rafters. Because in business, it's all about having the experienced team on your side. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
This is the Michael K. Show podcast.
I gotta get more K.
Listen live weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN, the ESPN New York app, and your smart speaker.
Yes, hour 2 of our 2-hour radio program. A lot of stuff going on. Giancarlo Stanton, it was revealed, is having problems with both of his elbows, tennis elbows, so he's going to really slow roll it, and he might not be ready for the start of the season. This is something that he said the pain is very, very high. He dealt with it last year. I guess there's nothing you could do. He said there's like slight tears in the tendons, and you don't really do anything about that until it's a complete tear. This is a guy who's so heavily muscled, you just wonder if his soft tissues could handle his body structure because he's so strong. And all that swinging and the torque that he creates and the exit velocity that he elicits from that swing, I guess it's wearing down on his elbows, and it becomes an issue for the New York Yankees. How many games is he going to be able to play? And on the Mets side, Frankie Montas, one of their big signings during the offseason to be a member of their rotation, is not going to be able to pitch for a while. He is down for a significant stretch. He's going to be shut down. This is the words of Mike Puma of the New York Post. He's shut down for a significant stretch. So that means in all likelihood, he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. And if you want to look at the Mets and say, well, what's your biggest concern? Your biggest concern with the Mets is obviously going to be pitching, starting pitching. I mean, they should be able to make it work in the bullpen. They can get creative. They're very good at that. But their starting pitching is short. I'm sorry, it is. You're depending on Clay Holmes to become a starter. You're depending on Kodai Senga, who had 5 innings of work last year, to get back in there and give you hopefully 28 starts. So it's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting to see what they do. Mendoza, the Met manager, said that Montas is dealing with a high-grade lat strain and will be shut down from throwing for 6 to 8 weeks. So let's do the math. Let's say February has another week left in it, essentially. Well, a little bit more, but let's say 1 week. So then he's going to be out all of March. So that gives you 5 weeks. Then 3 more weeks in April. And then you got to start up again as you do in spring training. And he's got to start up for 6 weeks to get ready. You're not going to see him until June if everything goes well. If everything goes well. Mendoza also said, according to SNY, that Montas is traveling to New York to get a PRP injection. Stories like this are why the Yankees probably privately believe that they'll be able to move Marcus Stroman. Because pitchers do go down in spring training. They haven't played a game yet. They haven't thrown an inning yet. And he has a lat strain. Lat strains take forever. You know what a lat strain last year? Clark Schmidt. You know how long he was out? Almost 3 months. You are not going to see Frankie Montas until June. Mark my words, until June. If it's before that, the Mets are going to have an absolute party. Party. So you want to be worried about the Mets? Be worried about their starting pitching. Now, the other day, actually it was yesterday, Juan Soto met with the media in Port St. Lucie at the Mets spring training site. And as that was taking place, I started to wonder about Yankee fans and their feelings toward Soto. Because, you know, it's probably in the back of your mind now. When he signed with the Mets, you probably were disappointed and maybe even upset. But it's probably subsided now because, you know, out of sight, out of mind. But now you're seeing him sitting there in a Met top and a Met spring training hat, and you know that he's going to be there for 15 years. Every single day for 15 years, staring you in the face from across the river. Have your feelings of abandonment intensified? Are you past it? I think that one of the more fascinating series of the season is going to be in May when the Mets come to Yankee Stadium. I think the reception for Soto is going to be so brutal, I don't even think he's going to be prepared for it. So the crowd that showed him such unabated love last year, they're going to be all over him. So the fact that he finally said he didn't have anything bad to say about the Yankees, and I have nothing bad to say about Soto at all. Nothing. This is his business. This is how he makes a living, and he took the most money. He took the most money. That's all there is to it. Can't hate him for that. Some players do that. Aaron Judge took less money to stay with the Yankees. You know why? Because he had a lot invested in the Yankees. They drafted him. He came up through their system. Soto, 1 year. It was a stepping stone to get to free agency, and he did a great job. Hit 288, 41 home runs, finished third in the MVP voting. He was tremendous. Then he took the most money from the Mets. I'm wondering if seeing him in a Met uniform, or at least, you know, a workout top, made you feel any differently, or if you're over it, ready for the season to begin. Or is it going to be enmity moving forward? Is it going to be a 15 years of hatred of Soto? I don't know if it'll be 15 years, but I will tell you this. I can't recall the last time, other than an Astro, and we know what the Astros did, that a player is going to be received so negatively at Yankee Stadium that once wore Yankee pinstripes. So the Astros never wore Yankee pinstripes. They just cheated against the Yankees and cost the Yankees a chance to go to the World Series in 17 and maybe in 19, although that's never been proven. But Soto was offered a great contract by the Yankees, and he went to the Mets because their contract was a little bit better. How do Yankee fans feel? 1-800-919-3776. Now, getting back to the Stanton situation, and I gave these stats a bit in the first hour, and it bears repeating. So the Yankees made that trade for Stanton after his great 2017 season with the Marlins. And he starts off with the Yankees great. In 2018, he had a 4.4 WAR. That's the best WAR he's ever had as a Yankee. And he played 158 games. I mean, that almost seems like a fantasy right now. Stanton playing 158 games. In 2019, right, he played in 18 games. Had a 0.4 WAR. 18 games. 2020, which was the COVID year, out of 60 games, he played 23. 0.6 WAR. Then he had a bounce back in 2021. He played in 139 games, 3.1 WAR. And the last 3 years, 2022 played in 110, 0.7. 2023 played in 101, minus 0.8. That means he's under replacement player. And 2024, 0.7 WAR, played in 114 games. Now you look at his Marlin years, right? 2014, he had a 6.5 WAR. In 2017, the year he won the MVP and hit 59 home runs, he had a 7.9 WAR. That's who the Yankees traded for. And they got some of it in 2018. They've gotten nowhere near it since. We get a lot of Yankee fans that call into the show, and they all talk about, especially the guy from Westchester. Forget his first name. Could be Adam. And is it Adam? Oh, it's Dave. Right?
No, he's on line 3.
Right. And he's actually on the line. We'll get to him in a moment. He doesn't see the value in Judge because Judge has not performed in the postseason. So I guess that Dave would see the value in Stanton not playing and then playing well in the postseason. That's why it's a strange argument to have, because the Yankees are built to win World Series, and Stanton has shown up in every single postseason. I mean, he was phenomenal last year. He really was. Won the MVP in the ALCS. But is he worth the price that you pay him? And clogging up the DH, which could give Judge a lot more time off of his feet as he gets older, is it worth it to get that spurt of production in the postseason when he can't stay on the field in the regular season? My answer would be no, it's not. I think you could find guys that could hit in the postseason, maybe not at the level that he's gotten to, but the fact that he's not available during the regular season on a consistent basis is going to cost the Yankees at some point. If he's not available for 120 games, 125 games this year, that really will hinder the Yankees as they make a push to the playoffs. They need somebody behind Judge in the lineup. And you heard what Buster Olney said, and I agree. If the Yankees had to do this deal over again, I don't think they would ever say it publicly. They would never do it over again. This is not the player they thought they were going to get. This is a shell of the player they thought they were going to get. A shell. He had one season that you envision, and that was the first season. Since then, his body has betrayed him. He's played 7 years with the Yankees, and he's had only 2 of those 7 where he's had a WAR of over 3. When you consider what Judge did last year, he had a WAR over 10. So you're clogging up that money on the payroll. You're clogging up the DH spot. He can't run. He can't run the base. He's a base-to-base guy, even when he's great in the postseason, and he can't play the field anymore. My question to you, for the people that say, yeah, I'll take him just because he's great in the postseason, would you ever sign a player that can't run the bases and cannot physically play in the field for the money that the Yankees are paying Stanton? And the answer, if you're honest with yourself, is no way you would ever do that. There's no way. How could you think about signing a player that's so limited? But the Yankees have him, and they have him for 3 more years. So net, was it worth it? Because they haven't won a World Series with him. Yeah, he's had good postseason, but they haven't had the ultimate prize. And I think he limits their roster construction because you can't spread around DH days, because when he's available, you want to play him. So he becomes an everyday DH who can run the bases, physically unable to, and can't play the field, physically unable to. So is it worth the big postseasons if he's so limited during the regular seasons? 1-800-919-3776. Let's go to the phones. Chris in Mayapack. Chris.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great, thank you.
So, considering the recent Stanton news and the limited, options out there, besides like maybe a Marcus Stroman trade for protection for Judge, how about re-engaging Verdugo and give Judge more DH days to preserve him?
You know what, Chris? I can't say you're wrong. I thought about that. Verdugo has not gotten a bite in free agency. Not a bite. And he didn't have a great year for the Yankees, but he is he's a plus defender. And there's still something in there in terms of at-bats. The problem is the Yankees might be a little too left-handed at times, so then you're bringing in Verdugo. I think they might have to explore that, especially if they think that the Stanton injury is going to have an impact where he's not going to play even 100 games. I thought about it. I actually did think about it. And again, you're going to get him cheap because he does not have a bite. And I've said this before. I said this maybe a couple of weeks ago. Think about it. The Yankees, right? The Yankees made the World Series last year. And two everyday players on the Yankees, Anthony Rizzo and Alex Verdugo, cannot get a bite on free agency. Shows you how limited they were, and they still got to the postseason. So they were doing something right. 1-800-919-3776. Let's go to Dave in Westchester. Our buddy Dave. What's up, Dave?
Hey, how you doing, Michael?
Good.
I mean, basically, you took everything that I was about to say, and I'll just say it over again. When I read the stuff about Stanton, I'll ask you a simple question. It's very simple. This is not about Judge, who your screener wanted to make the whole conversation about Judge, okay? If I told you that Stan's going to play 30 games this year, that's it, nothing else, okay? We're going to fly him in at the end of September. You're never going to see the guy. But he's going to do the exact same thing in the playoffs that he did last year. Would you take that, or would you take he's going to have a great? No, I'm saying the gap has been closed. Mm-hmm. Boston and Baltimore are coming closer, but right now the Yankees have pitching. I think they're a better team right now than they would be if they stay with the same team last year with Soto. Without Soto, they have pitching. The Mets have to do something. The Mets are forced to do something. They got to get a pitcher. If the Yankees stay the same, almost 100% they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying World Series, anything like that. They'll make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I will take Stanton in the playoffs. Let him miss. I'd give him a ticket. Go to Cancun. Here's your ticket. Fly in October 1st. Just do the same thing he did last year, and I'll take that. Rather than him hit 200 home runs and do nothing in the postseason.
Well, I don't think the way you're presenting it, Dave, is provocative. Because I mean, it's not like I'm not saying 100. He doesn't have to play 158 games. That Stanton doesn't exist anymore.
That's never.
But don't you want a guy who plays 130 games? Don't you think he impacts the Yankees during the regular season if he doesn't play and can't stay healthy?
I think he impacts the Yankees. Yes, I do. But I'm going to ask you a regular question. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't play at all, okay, say he plays 30 games, like I said.
Okay.
Do you think with the Yankees pitching staff and who they have right now, and maybe who they might pick up as an alternate player for him while he misses time, do you think the Yankees will make the playoffs? Simple question.
Yes, I do. I do think they. I think they make the playoffs. But then, Dave, it becomes harder though.
Back in the playoffs.
It becomes harder to make because you listen to the show, and I thank you for that. But Dave, my point is this: I think the Yankees are the best team in the American League. So I think they're making the playoffs. But if you say Stanton's going to play 30 games, then it becomes a lot tougher for them to make the playoffs. I don't think they're the best team in the American League without Stanton for about 120 games. You have to have protection for Judge, and you're saying, well, they'll go out and get somebody. Well, they want to get under the luxury tax. So they're $3 or $4 million over it right now. That's why they're intent on trading Stroman. So they're not going to get a player of impact for Giancarlo Stanton. There's nobody out there that can do what Stanton can do when he's healthy. He just can't stay healthy. Again, it's provocative to say, give him a ticket, don't play all year, and come back and do what you did in the playoffs. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that and be the same player that he was in the playoffs if you're not going to play leading into the playoffs. It's not some magic button that you push and all of a sudden you become this unbelievable player in the playoffs. It's just not that easy. I'm sorry, it's not. So you have to look at it and go, you got to weigh the pros and the cons. I love him in the postseason. He was phenomenal in the postseason last year. He carried them to the World Series. I saw all of it. But that is a real tough ask of the rest of the team. All right, one of the main guys, maybe the cleanup hitter or the fifth hitter in the lineup, is going to be out for all of those games. But I give the Yankees credit. They know exactly what's going on. And Brian Cashman said this a couple of years ago, and it angered Stanton. We go into the season not thinking he's going to play every single game. They know it. So they probably have a pivot plan. Maybe that means playing Ben Rice a lot. Maybe that means playing Oswaldo Cabrera a lot. They've got a plan, but there's not anybody in their farm system that they could call up that would approximate what a prime Stanton could do. He is not a prime Stanton. He's just not. Ben Rice could be a nice player. Does he elicit that same fear in an opposing team that Stanton does? Is he going to give Judge the same protection that Stanton does? So, in answer to our previous caller, would they make the playoffs? Yes, I believe they'll make the playoffs, even without him. But it becomes tougher. Why do you want to make things tougher? Because the tougher it is, the more you have to push people. The more you push people, those people could go down. If those people go down, then all of a sudden, that trip through the playoffs to get to the World Series again becomes exponentially more difficult. Joe, Long Island. Joe.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, Joe, what are you doing, man?
Just a quick question for you. I know I completely agree with you. You've spoken a lot about how Dominguez is the X factor for this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he falls on his face, the season is, it is what it is. He's the big piece. But just with the Stanton news, I'm just curious if you think, since there's obviously no quick fix, what do you think about bringing in a guy like Justin Turner to get some DH at-bats? He's a solid veteran. He gives good at-bats. Just to give something to this lineup.
Joe, I like the way all you guys, it's not a terrible idea. It's not a terrible idea. He's a veteran. He's clutch. He'll give you good at-bats from the right side. But again, I know what fans are going to say. They're going to throw up their arms. Why does this matter? You got to talk money. He's probably going to want $10 million a year. Yankees are trying to get under the Cohen tax. And I'm going to tell you right now, and the Yankees probably don't want to hear this. If you want to make the playoffs and you want to win the World Series, which is always job one for the Yankees, making the World Series and winning it, you can't let that luxury tax stand in your way. I know you want to get under it, but if Stanton is legitimately hurt and you could bring in a guy like Justin Turner, get him for $8-10 million, you got to do it. You got to say, damn it, I don't care about the luxury tax. Because if they're $4 million over, as I said earlier, either you're under it or go way over it. Because $4 million over it means you're still suffering all of the negative effects of going over the final tax. All of the negative effects. So why sneak over by $4 million? Go over by 30 like what the Mets did. Go over by 70 what the Dodgers did. You can do it. With the revenue the Yankees make, you could do it. And the Dodgers seem like they have a robust farm system, and they continually go over that cap all the time. And even with the negativity and the loss of draft picks and draft pick standing and the fact that, international signing, all of that, they still get it done. Creative teams can do it. I know the Yankees would like to dip under this year so they're not a repeat offender. But if it's the difference between making the playoffs and not, and you're not going to be able to get under. If they get under, it's a different story. Then that's their intent, is to stay under. But if they're over by 4, you got to be over by 30. In for 6, in for a dozen. You just are. You can't be cute. Because if you're over by $1, then be over by $50. Because if Stanton is legitimately a question mark this year, they need somebody in that lineup. And a couple of callers so far, Verdugo's still out there. Justin Turner's still out there. Those are guys that could impact the team. I would love the Turner signing just to see if he would shave his beard. Because that's him. Red Thunder, right? That red beard is part of who he is. Would he ever shave it off if there's no other team out there that wants to give him a run? Let's go to Lou in Union City. Lou.
Mike, how's it going? I'm a longtime fan. It's good to talk to you.
Thank you, man. Going well. How about you?
I'm doing well.
Great.
I did want to say some things about Soto, how you were just mentioning a couple minutes ago. First of all, I think that our lineup this year, I'll take it any day over the lineup we had in the World Series. I'll take Dominguez, Bellinger, and Goldschmidt over Soto, Verdugo, and Rizzo any day. to be honest with you. I think the team, and not even just to mention the bullpen and the starting pitching, I think we're in a much better position this year than last year. And with that being said, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Jason Dominguez is an all-star level player this year, because he honestly has that potential, and we saw it in the first 5 games of his career. With that being said, Michael, I do want to say that, you know, the Yankees' prestige in history is something that, you know, it's global. But I do think that we, as Yankees fans, we have to recognize, and I want to get your thoughts on this, that the prestige in history, we're kind of losing a cultural, we potentially might lose a cultural battle with what the Yankees brand means with these Dodgers that are just spending this so much money, and they're getting like every great Asian player. And then the Mets, you know, they're getting like basically they signed Soto. I was just in the Dominican Republic, and that made such huge waves over there. Mm-hmm. So I fear that globally the Yankees brand, you know, might be a little bit. We do have to. We can't rest on our laurels. Is basically what I'm saying. We still have to like make those big moves. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't think it's going to be affected globally, Lou. I think, you know, obviously they've got other big players now that are going to combat them for big players. Obviously that's going to be an issue, and they've got to work around it. They've got to decide how they're going to deal with that. But in terms of like their global impact, you walk anywhere in the world and you see a Yankee cap more than you see Dodger caps and more than you see Met hats, and that's just the way it is. The Yankees have built up over the years an incredible brand with 27 championships. Now, they haven't won one since 2009, so it does really behoove them to get another championship in a hurry so that, again, they could reestablish themselves as the top of the heap. But right now it's the Dodgers. Dodgers have the geographic advantage of being on the West Coast when it comes to the Japanese players. They have incredible amounts of money that they're willing to spend. Yankees are going to have to find a way to combat that. They just are. But the Dodgers are going to get the players that they want. The Mets are going to get the players that they want. And the Yankees usually get the players that they want. So I don't think that they're in any tipping point right now where they'd be in danger of being an also-ran. They're still the New York Yankees. I mean, the Yankees survived the 80s without making the playoffs. They survived. They survived 1965 to 1975 without being anything important. They survived. They're still the New York Yankees. The top hat logo, the interlocking MY, it carries a lot of weight behind it. I don't think it's in any danger of being displaced. They just don't. I know people that are sitting there that aren't Yankee fans right now in their car. They're rolling their eyes. Oh, here's Yankee boy. No, I'm just telling you the truth. Walk anywhere in the world, you're going to see a Yankee cap. You might not see a Dodger cap. Might not see a Red Sox cap. Might not see a Met cap. You're going to see a Yankee cap. It's a ubiquitous brand.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. The secret's out. Businesses that want to grow, grow with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Untuckit uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/network, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/network to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/network.
Every idea starts with a problem. Warby Parker's was simple. Glasses are too expensive. So they set out to change that. By designing glasses in-house and selling directly to customers, they're able to offer prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Warby Parker glasses are made from premium materials like impact-resistant polycarbonate and custom acetate, and they start at just $95, including prescription lenses. Get glasses made from the good stuff. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you.
As the number and severity of third-party breaches continue to rise, companies are increasingly vigilant, not just about how they handle their own data, but how their vendors do as well. For security and compliance leaders, this means more security reviews are coming across your desk every day, and valuable time is being wasted on manual security reviews. With Vanta Questionnaire Automation, security and compliance teams can complete security reviews up to 5 times faster, giving you time back to focus on running your security and compliance programs. Over 8,000 global companies like ZoomInfo, Smart Recruiters, and Noibu use Vanta to save time on security reviews. Visit vanta.com/podcast to learn more about questionnaire automation. That's VANTA.com/podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, so Aaron Judge met with the assembled media in Tampa less than an hour ago. And so here's some of the highlights from the Yankee right fielder. He was asked about this year's team being hungrier than in the past.
Definitely coming in hungry, if not hungrier than years past, especially going from 23 into last season, not making the postseason. That's a tough one to swallow there. And, guys were motivated, guys showed up early, they put in the work. And I think, getting to the dance and losing out on it definitely is a lot worse than not even getting in. So guys are motivated, guys are ready to go. So definitely some great energy so far. It's only been a couple days, but guys are ready to get back to work and get us back in that spot and rewrite the script.
Well, that's fascinating. I wonder what you people think about that. You think it's worse worse losing the World Series than not making the playoffs? I mean, it might hurt more. You don't make the playoffs, you move on. But in terms of like the sting, I think not making the playoffs is worse than going to the World Series and losing in the World Series, don't you all? Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm surprised Aaron said that. Not making the playoffs, that's the ultimate failure for a New York Yankee team. Going to the World Series and losing, yeah, it hurts a lot, but is it worse than not making the playoffs at all? Now, Judge was asked about this roster heading into the season.
It's exciting. A lot of different pieces that have come in. We start with Bellinger, a guy that can play 3, 4, 5, 6 different positions for us, play all over the field. You got a guy like Goldschmidt, who's been one of the top 10 hitters in the game for the past 10 years. It's been impressive to watch. He's going to bring a different side of the game to us at first base. He's a guy that can run the base as well. Having Jazz do his thing, another year of Jazz, who's been so dynamic for us and explosive. It's going to be exciting. We got a lot of different pieces, some new arms, especially with Max Fried, a guy that I faced for quite a few years, and I'm glad he's in pinstripes now. But I'm excited about the lineup. I don't know how it's all going to work out, who's going to bat where and all that, but just up and down this lineup, we got guys who are going to have good at-bats, quality at-bats, guys that can steal bases, get on base, and a lot of guys that can leave the park.
And finally, the captain was asked, did you hear the Dodgers' comments after winning the World Series?
Oh, yeah, we heard that, but there's nothing you can do besides you got to beat them. They won. They can say whatever they want. So, if you don't like it, you got to play better.
I'll tell you what, not to unearth or litigate, why would they say the stuff they said? It's not like the Yankees disrespected them at all. So you win, you do the classy thing and congratulate them for having a great season and move on. Instead, you just completely obliterated them. You insulted them and insulted what they're all about. I mean, if the Yankees ever face the Dodgers in the World Series again, not that you need more motivation than actually playing for a World Series title, but why give a team more fodder? Why? And then it was a guy like Joe Kelly who didn't even play. Wasn't even active. I don't get it. Let's go to the Mets side. Carlos Mendoza. We talked about Frankie Montas. You're not going to see him until June with a lat strain. That's my guesstimate. And Mendoza was asked about Montas' injury update.
Frankie Montas dealing with a lat strain. It's a high-grade lat strain. So he's shut down from throwing 6 to 8 weeks. He's on his way to New York right now to get a PRP injection. So that's what we got.
6 to 8 weeks means 2 months from now before he picks up a ball. And then that's if everything goes according to plan and everything goes well. Then you tack on 6 more weeks after that to build you up to a 5 or 6 inning starter. June. Mendoza was asked about Montas' injury, and does it change the thought of a six-man rotation?
Not really. I mean, we got options. Still too early. Here we are dealing with an injury with one of the starters, and we'll continue to have those conversations and see whether, especially at the front end when we have 3 days off, whether we want to go week 5, even though because they're going to be getting that extra day, and then we'll adjust accordingly.
It's funny how things change because McGill looked like he was going to start the season at AAA. Now he might be part of that six-man rotation. Mendoza did, when the whole squad reported, made a speech to the Met team, and Lindor praised the speech, and Mendoza was asked about Lindor's praise of the speech.
Yeah, it was who we are, what's our goal. We're here to win a championship, and we got to believe that. But we also understand that we got work to do. We still got long ways to go. There's a lot of good teams out there. We got to be able to become a great team, and some of the things that we need to do, not only on the field but off the field. So it was a messaging somewhere along those lines. Just a reminder who we are. And last year was last year. It's all about 2025 now. So, yeah, I'm glad he liked it.
Mendoza, the Mets got themselves a great manager. A lot of people knew that Mendoza was going to be a good manager at some point. Mets took a chance, and you know what? It's paid off in a big way. Speaking of paying off, Juan Soto got paid big time to join the Mets. Aaron Judge was asked about the Yankees losing Soto in free agency.
Yeah, Soto's one of a kind, man. He's a special player. Excited for him and his new chapter with the Mets. But we added a lot of new pieces here, starting with Bellinger and Goldschmidt, two guys that are, former MVPs, guys that are still wanting to improve, still want to get better. They're going to add just such a different dynamic to this team. It really lengthens out our whole lineup. When you have those guys batting in the middle of your order, just a lot of good things are going to happen. So, you can't replace a guy like Juan Soto, but you bring in guys like this that are all-stars, MVPs, caliber players. We did a pretty good job.
Judge was asked if he was surprised Soto left for the Mets for a better chance to win the World Series. And Judge said that's his opinion. He could say what he wants. I definitely disagree with it. I wasn't too surprised by it. I think that's where he wanted to be. Interesting. 1-800-919-3776. That's the number. Let's go to Derek in Brooklyn. Derek.
Hey, good afternoon, Michael. How you doing? Big fan of yours.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, I'm a diehard Mets fan, season ticket holder. Just wanted to ask a two-part question. Do you think the Mets will consider trading for Dylan Cease? And if so, what do you think they would have to give up? And another part of a Mets question I have for you is, with Soto, being there and everything, who do you think it would impact more in a more favorable manner, meaning a career year with Nemo or Lindor have a better year because Soto's there? Thank you so much, man. Love you, Mike. Have a great day, man. Take it easy.
Thank you. Wow. I guess a lot of it depends on where Soto's going to hit, second or third. So if it's second, I think he really positively impacts Lindor. If it's third, who's going to bat second? Is it going to be Nimmo? Then it would impact Nimmo. I think it's going to impact Alonso. There's going to be guys on base almost 50% of the time in front of Alonso. So I think it's going to have a big impact on him. I really do believe that. And it's a big year for Alonso because he could opt out and he wants that long-term deal. I think Soto makes everybody around him better. If you look at the year that Judge had, Soto was hitting in front of him, and I think he positively impacted Judge as well. And Judge impacted Soto positively. But having somebody on base and having worked as hard as they did just to get Soto out or walk him, there was such a benefit for Aaron Judge to watch that and see what the pitcher has and how he was trying to get out Soto. And that's how Alonso is also going to deal. Now, as for Cease, you're losing Montas. I think they'd have to give up Acuna. Maybe they have to think about Jet Williams, maybe Beatty. They have to give up top prospects. Mauricio, I'm not saying all of them, but some combination. And I don't think it would be a bad deal. If the Mets think they're close and they're one big-time pitcher away, Dylan Cease makes, I think, $13.8 million this year, and he's going to be a free agent. So if he becomes a free agent, the Mets love him. Well, the Mets can afford anybody. I think that's something that the Mets should definitely be looking into. Let's go to Rich in Sayreville. Rich.
Hey, how's it going, Mike? How are you?
Good, Rich. What's up?
Hey, nothing much. I just had a quick question for you about the Cohen tax. Wouldn't it make sense to go over the Cohen tax if we did make the playoffs via TV revenue and ticket sales that would offset the cost or subsidize the cost of going over that tax if we did sign like Turner or any other piece that we might need to actually make the playoffs this season?
It's interesting. Obviously, making the playoffs does make a team a lot of money. But the Yankees probably think, and Hal Steinbrenner, I don't want to speak for him, but he probably thinks, why can't we make the playoffs with a $300 million payroll? Why does it have to be $320? I think that the tax that you pay, 110% on each dollar, is probably the least of their worries because of all the other things that set you back in terms of draft positioning and foreign money and stuff like that. I think that has a lot to do with it. If it's 110% tax, it shouldn't be because they have the money. I don't think that they can lean on that because they make more money revenue-wise than the Dodgers. They make more money revenue-wise than any team in baseball. Do they need to have a $400 million payroll? No. I think a $300 million payroll is plenty good, but then it does talk about some of the allocation of the money that you spent, that you're in a position that you need to spend more to get a third baseman. That's the issue. Now, in terms of losing in the championship or not making the playoffs, Rick DiPietro just texted me. He said it's much worse losing in the championship than not making the playoffs. Much worse. But I think the thing that Judge said wasn't what was worse. But I think he'd rather not make the playoffs than go to the World Series and lose. That's what I guess that Rick is answering that in a little bit. But wouldn't you rather go to the championship and lose than not make the playoffs at all? I know that they're losing the championship is probably worse than not making the playoffs, but at least you got to the championship. Not making the playoffs, I think I'd rather get to the championship and lose and hurt more than not making the playoffs. I guess that's my point.
Grainger knows space at your facility is limited. As a maintenance specialist, you only have so many spots for backup products in your inventory roster, which means space on your bench comes at a premium. Well, when it comes to breadth and depth, Grainger's got you covered. They've got over 1 million industrial-grade products. Plus, fast delivery helps reduce the inventory you need to keep on hand, freeing up space and capital while giving your operation a winning edge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by a local branch.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Thanks. I need to change my oil. So how much is an oil filter?
Free when you buy 5 quarts of oil. Right now, we have a special on Valvoline Advanced Full Synthetic or High Mileage Motor Oil.
The oil filter is free with the Valvoline
Advanced Full Synthetic or High Mileage Motor Oil? Yep, the free oil filter is part of the A to Z savings event. Only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
When you're a small business owner, having your bookkeeping and taxes in order comes at a cost. I'm not just talking about your money. I'm talking about your time, hours and hours that you could have spent actually growing your business. But guess what? It doesn't have to be that way thanks to Found. Found is a banking platform that doesn't just consolidate your financial ecosystem. Found automates manual activities like expense tracking and finding tax write-offs. Found makes staying on top of invoices and payments so easy. Oh, and by the way, other small businesses are loving Found too. This Found user said, quote, "Found is going to save me so much headache. It makes everything so much easier. Expenses, income, profits, taxes, invoices even," unquote. And Found has 30,000 5-star reviews just like this. Open a Found account for free at found.com/sports. That's found.com/sports. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Piermont Bank, member FDIC. Don't put this one off. Join thousands of small business owners who have streamlined their finances with Found.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
You've got to really be particular about who you make your franchise player. So Aaron Judge met with the media today, and he was asked where he'd like to hit in the batting order this season. And he said, "I'd love to hit third again. I told him that since the first day. But I've always been about whatever you need me, or wherever you need me. I'll be anywhere that helps shape this lineup the way we need to." He's a different bird. Mookie Betts is a different bird. Judge shouldn't have been in center field last year. But he felt the Yankees were better with Soto in right, and he's playing center. So he did it. A superstar. He did it. Whatever you need. Wherever you want me to. I want to hit third, but if you want me to hit second, that's where I'll hit. I want to play right, but if you need me to play center, that's where I'll play. Isn't that a lot different, everybody, than Marcus Stroman say, I am not a reliever and I'm not pitching out of the bullpen? Rather than saying, wherever the team needs me, that's what I'll do. I'm a starter. I'm not a reliever. But Marcus Stroman is not the face of the Yankees. Aaron Judge is, which leads me to Rafael Devers. Rafael Devers was bestowed a $300 million contract for 10 years to be the face of the Red Sox. Now, not only does he not meet with the media every single day, he's not a spokesman for them every single day like Judge is, but today he met with the media because in Boston, everybody's rejoicing over the fact that they signed Alex Bregman to a 3-year contract. Now, Bregman won the Gold Glove at third base last year in the American League playing for the Astros. He's a great third baseman. Great. So today's the first day that Devers met with the media because a couple of days ago, Alex Cora, the manager of the Red Sox, said, well, let's not dismiss Bregman playing third here. We might do some things, which means that either Devers is going to be your DH or he'd be your first baseman. So Devers was asked today, what would you do if they asked you to be a DH? No, I'm not doing it. What would you do if they asked you to play first base? No, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. No. Judge, whatever they need. Stroman, would you pitch out of the bullpen? No. I am not a reliever. I'm not pitching out of the bullpen. There's a difference. Mookie Betts, do you want to play second? Sure. You want to play short? Sure. You want to play in the outfield? Sure. Wherever you need me. That's greatness personified. When guys step up and go, whatever you need, I'll do whatever you need. Now, I was looking up because I'm a big proponent of the Yankees looking into getting Nolan Arenado. And as I've told you before, I don't think the Yankees are that high on Arenado. But he doesn't make that much money. The Cardinals probably eat what he makes, a lot of what he makes. And everybody's saying, well, he's on the downside of his career, right? Well, I just, for kicks and giggles, I looked up what he did last year in a down year. Right? He hit 272, 16 home runs, and 71 runs batted in. 272, 16 homers, and 71 runs batted in. Are the Yankees getting that performance from whomever they play at third base this year? Are they getting close to that? No. And Arenado is a wickedly great third baseman defensively. He's 33 years old. Old, right? No, that's 1 year older than Aaron Judge. 1 year older. Wanted to talk a little bit before I turn it over to Don Hahn and Rosenberg about the weekend and SNL. SNL's been a big part of my life because it started when I was 14 years old. So right in your wheelhouse when, staying up late on a Saturday is a big deal to see, SNL. And some of the stuff was over my head at that time. But I've been a loyal viewer of SNL my whole life. Some years have been terrible. Some years cast are awful. Some years are great. Some years have forever cast members. And to see the celebration on Friday with the homecoming concert, which was unbelievable at Radio City, and to see all the famous people that have been on that show and have become famous by being on that show, and then to see Cher perform on Friday. She's 78 years old, and she was unbelievable. And then yesterday's show, 3.5 hours, the celebration of the 50 years. And to see Paul McCartney close it out at the age of 82. And Paul Simon open it up singing with Sabrina Carpenter, Homeward Bound. It was amazing. And then to see all of them there and to see all of them at Radio City and to know that it all emanated from one man, Lorne Michaels, to me is amazing. Did some things miss yesterday? Yeah. But I thought the show was pitch perfect overall. Adam Sandler, I think it was like a 6-minute song he wrote about the 50 years of SNL. It was emotional. It was beautiful. The crowd of famous people gave him a standing ovation. And you can see that he got emotional. He paid tribute to Norm Macdonald, who passed away, and paid tribute to his buddy Chris Farley, who passed away. It was beautifully, beautifully done. The whole show was great. Now, was it perfect? No. And I'm going to tell you why. Chevy Chase was there. Now, Chevy Chase was on the first cast, and he was only 1 year at SNL, one, and then he left to become a movie star. But you have Chevy Chase there, and he's not on stage? Like, you don't have him open up Weekend Update? That seemed odd to me. Now, I started to wonder, well, maybe Chevy's not all there. But then I saw an interview that he did on Sunday Today with Willie Geist, and he's all there. He might not be well liked by people at SNL because he's supposed to be rude. But if you're really honoring the 50 years, one of the people that was part of the 50 years, the first year, you didn't even use him. Now, you did use Lorraine Newman, and Garrett Morris came out. He's 88 years old. But Jane Curtin was there, and you didn't use her. And where was Dan Aykroyd? That was kind of odd. And then Billy Crystal was there, and you didn't use him at all. He was in the audience for both nights. So there are some things that I would have wished that, would have been done. Dana Carvey, I don't know if he was there or not, but would have been great to see a Wayne's World sketch. So nothing is going to be perfect. There's no way that you could fit 50 years into 3.5 hours. But I got emotional because it's like your life unfolding in front of you. Things that were important to you at this age or that age, and to see them on stage and to see greatness in an elderly state. And Paul Simon, who has a hard time hearing now, opening up the show like that. He's over 80 years old. Paul McCartney, over 80 years old. Cher on Friday, 78 years old. So time pauses for no one. But to see one show that's been kind of the zeitgeist of this country, Eddie Murphy was amazing, like imitating Tracy Morgan in front of Tracy Morgan on Black Jeopardy. There were just great moments yesterday that made you realize what an important touchstone this is for the country, how it reflects the country through the years, politics on both sides. They skewer both sides. But it was emotional for me. It really was. And I hope that if you're an SNL fan, that you don't look at the things that you didn't like or that they might have left out and just kind of embrace the things that you did like and that they did so beautifully. So 50 years and you wonder, is it going to be around forever? Obviously, Lorne Michaels is 80. He's not going to do it forever. Who takes over for him and will have the same touch that he had? So congratulations to SNL and 50 unbelievable years and for an unbelievable weekend. The concert at Radio City and then the show from 30 Rock yesterday. Well done. All right, so we got a lot of sports to talk about. The injuries today with Stanton and Montas, the NBA All-Star Weekend, which kind of fell a little bit flat. Don Hahn and Rosenberg will have everything and more in just a moment when they take over the airwaves for the next 4 hours. In the words of Billy Joel, life is a series of hellos and goodbyes. I'm afraid it's time for goodbye again. See you, everybody. See you tomorrow at 1. Don Hahn and Rosenberg next on 880 ESPN.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
You know what? Check yourself.
Hear more from Michael K. weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN.
Suck it up and like it.
The ESPN New York app and your smart speakers.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.